Tonight we going hard. Lights, magic, sparks. And you might come past across the 6'4" chick flinging off ice spots with a shot. Who you thought that's Candace Park? She may be a lady Katie. Past the Christy, cool as the AC. The ice princess, don't try to defend it. She driving like a nine on the time when she take threes. WNBA sparking. Loving the fans cause they awesome. Tonight we going hard.
Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome into the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home, there we go, of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks. Back with you, folks, on a pretty scorching hot Tuesday evening here in San Diego, California. Of course, folks, Cal McClurg with the same straight night, of course, as we begin our brand new solo broadcast team again here tonight. From Studio 171 in San Diego, this is the Sparks 365 postgame show for August 18th, 2015, as the LA Sparks, ouch, get snake bitten and can't cure their second half fever as the Indiana Fever beat the Sparks tonight, 79-68. We'll get into this game momentarily, folks. Again, just a reminder, the folks, real quick again, that again we'll be once again off the air once we kind of get back in the flow of things again. But again, we'll be off the air again beginning next Friday, the 28th, up until September 7th, as I did go back east to New York for my final vacation of my 2015 summer. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boy, oh boy, a tough game to digest if you are a fan of the LA Sparks. The Sparks have a 14-point halftime lead slip away incrementally in the second half and in the third quarter especially. The Sparks can go down the night to the Fever at home, 79-68. Let's dive into this game, folks. I know a lot of people want to voice their opinions on this game. I know I'm going to momentarily, folks. But here is the final box score. First for the Fever in the first half, 20 in the first, 10 in the second, and then after that, all Indiana, 24 in the third, and 25 in the fourth for the game total of 79. For the Sparks, look good after 20 minutes of basketball, 21 in the first, 23 in the second, to take that 14-point lead into the locker room at the half. But the wheels came off. 6 points in the third quarter, and 18 in the fourth for the final game line total of 68. Final box score for the Indiana Fever, the veteran Tamika Catchings, 20 points. Brianne January, 16. Marissa Coleman with 14 in her second game back to LA after the trade in during the 2013 offseason, had 14 points, including a pretty big three-pointer at the third quarter final horn. That also was a and one on a foul in the third quarter. Shanice Johnson, 9. Lenina Kaiser, 5. Natalie Achuan, 4. Shavante Zellos, Maggie Lucas, Lashia Clarendon, all with 3. Natasha Howard with 2. And Orlando Larkins and Jeanette Poland, all DNPs tonight. Stephanie White and coach's decisions. For the LA Sparks, who suffer their 17th loss of the season, Candace Parker again balls out again, 25 points in the ballgame for CP in 34 minutes played. Anna Dobovich got her first career start on her birthday, 12 points. Jantel Lavender, 10, though. We'll have some injury news about Lav momentarily. Tamika Johnson, 9 points. Mariana Tolo, Elena Beard, and Christy Tolliver, all with 4 points. Freya Abdi, no points. Crystal Bradford, Jen Hampson, Nneka Ogwumike, and Erin Phillips all held out of the game. Coach's decision, of course, Nneka Ogwumike, we'll get to her and Lab's injury momentarily. And, of course, Erin Phillips out with that knee problem. Hampson and Bradford, coach's decision. Game played tonight from the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles, California. Total attendance tonight, 5,103. Time of the game, 1 hour and 56 minutes. Your referees tonight were Daryl Humphrey, Michael Price, and Byron Jarrett. And the game flow in the ball game, 12 lead changes, and 8 times tonight the teams were tied. Well, where do I start here? I think, folks, that this was pretty much, folks, a very famous roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This was basically deja vu of a very similar game we saw on the very same day just a couple of weeks ago when the Sparks again had built a sustainable lead in the first half to a Seattle Storm team that they owned all of last season and had many, many problems with them this season, where it was the same broken record playing on your old school vinyl record player. I mean, it was, turnovers and, bad shot selection and not playing the same way they played in the first half, folks. That I get, that is what I believe is what we saw again here tonight was, again, not a role reversal in a positive way like we saw on Sunday, where it was, the sluggish start and being down by 1.5, but, putting that foot, keeping that foot on the gas pedal, as I alluded to last night, where in this case, it was foot on the gas pedal, and then LA took it off, and then the fourth quarter gas gauge immediately goes all the way to empty. Lack of depth tonight, some injuries. We'll get to those folks right now. Jantel Lavender suffered a pretty severe rolled ankle in the third quarter of the ballgame, in the waning minutes of the third quarter, going for a rebound. She went up for the ball, came down and rolled the ankle not once but twice. Rolled the ankle twice. Literally, folks had to crawl off the floor because of the injury and the significance of pain she was facing. She did play the remainder of the game, probably in pretty sustainable pain, perhaps. And then, of course, folks, Nneka Ogwumike out tonight. Concussion-like symptoms suffered in Sunday's game versus Chicago. Took 2 brunt elbows to the side of the head that were not called by either of the 3 referees during the course of the game. Left the game and did not play the night. She is listed right now, folks, as day-to-day, but could possibly also be sitting out on Friday because she did not pass WNBA concussion protocol. And I think, folks, that was another problem, too, this was a game, folks, a lot like last season, where Candace Parker was relied on way too heavily. Between having Lav go down and not having Nneka in those 35 minutes per game in the third and fourth quarter in crunch time in a very close game, with the Sparks again struggled mightily again in the second half. This was a game again, folks, where Candace Parker pretty much had the tail pinned to her backside because she was out there, grinding like normal. But of course, though, again, having to take almost had to take the brunt end of the shots like Elena Deladon did on Sunday with the Sky losing at Staples, where Candace Parker had to go out of her way again, like we saw a lot of last year and in 2013, going out of her way to score a lot of points to keep her team afloat. Again, her final stat line, folks, 34 minutes played, 8 of 14 from the field. That was a 57% field goal percentage. Went 9 of 12 from the line and finished minus 13 and minus efficiency. And also tonight had 10 rebounds, 6 assists. And also, folks, a very good stat to know, folks, Candace Parker tonight set the Sparks franchise record for most steals in a single game. She had 8 of them tonight. Her career high was 7, set a couple years ago, and now has set the bar on the Sparks' franchise record for steals with 8 steals in the game. Had 7 turnovers, 3 blocks, and 25 points for LA Spark player of the game. But again, folks, I think, though, that tonight was, I think we all agree here. I think 9 people out of 10, or maybe all of you out there that are viewing us right now in the group on Twitter, if you're just, dropping by here, folks, you would all agree with me. And I know that you guys agree with me quite a lot. And I know that I bring a lot to the table here, and I appreciate that you guys tell me that all the time. But I think we all can agree here. This was the Seattle Storm game just last week, part 2. I mean, where the Sparks can, get this big lead, squander it, and I mean squander, folks, incrementally. I mean, not playing heads-up basketball, turnovers after turnovers, terrible shot selection in the second half, not getting baskets to fall, folks. And I think, though, that I think we all would agree here. I'm guilty of it too, and I will raise my hand and say it right here, that I think that once you saw the Fever go on that 8-0 run, you knew right then and there the Sparks were in trouble. I think we all can agree with that as soon as you saw the Fever, go on a bit of a run to begin the second half, seeing LA implode incrementally, you knew pretty dang well if the Sparks were in trouble. And, folks, obviously, turning from the ball game, the Sparks get outscored 24-6 in the third quarter. That is what absolutely cannot happen when you're building a 14-point lead. And again, it just looked like it was a pre-Parker return team that we sadly saw come to fruition in the second half of the game, where they were going through a very long stretch of no baskets, where Lavender, I believe, made the first basket halfway through the third quarter, and the Fever were smoking hot. And tonight, folks, by the way, folks, the Fever also in the ball game from beyond the arc, folks, they went 10 of 19. They made 10 3-pointers in this ball game. The Sparks, by the way, only made 1 of their 13 3-point attempts, folks. So obviously, the 3-point shooting for the Sparks still is MIA, but the Fever came out. And I think, though, folks, that there was definitely some type of major adjustment made by Stephanie White in that locker room briefing before the half, where you just saw the Fever come out. It looked like a lot of what I saw when they played the Mercury on Sunday. It was a lot more up pace, physical play, getting in lanes, getting steals. But of course, though, it didn't help that the Sparks had shot themselves in the foot with so many, very lazy passes, lazy shot attempts. So a lot of, sadly, folks, a lot of negatives around the LA Sparks for this ball game tonight. Again, the Sparks go down in flames, 79-68, the Fever over LA with a ferocious comeback after being down by 14 through the first half of play for the Fever. Again, folks, to me, Catchings player of the game, 20 points in 31 minutes played, 6 of 14 from the field, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc, made all 7 of her free throw attempts, plus 10 and plus efficiency, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 personal fouls, 3 steals, 2 turnovers, had 2 of her shots blocked, and also did register 20 points in the ball game. And again, for Candace Parker, player of the night, but again, she's played the game for the Sparks, 25 points, 34 minutes played, 8 of 14 from the field, 0 for 4 from beyond the arc, and 12 from the line, minus 13 in plus minus efficiency, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 personal fouls, 8 steals, 7 turnovers, 3 blocks, all with 25 points in the bag for CP3 in the ball game. Again, folks, I just don't know if there's a whole lot of other words to say other than maybe calling this probably one of the most embarrassing games of the Sparks season. I think that maybe you could say that the 7-game losing streak to start the year was pretty embarrassing too for a franchise embedded with so much history. And seeing that seeing that team for those first 7 games, that when they couldn't, get a win, just, struggle from game to game to score points, hold leads like they have been now. Or I believe that we would probably call this, and maybe last week's game, folks, probably the 2 most embarrassing games of the season. I mean, that's a pretty bold and harsh statement, folks. But when you just, sadly to see this team just, collapse like the Roman Empire. In the second half where they've built a sustainable lead, folks. Even the home opener this year against the Storm, same story, up by 10. And again, just finding a way to, give it away now, basically, folks. I mean, I really don't know what else to say about this game or any previous game that we saw with LA blowing a lead incrementally. And I think, though, that Candace Parker said it best during pregame was, they have to continue to get better at closing games. And I think, though, too, that Jim Watson and Mary Murphy also brought this up earlier during the broadcast was that, this team, has not found team chemistry. Folks, I even said this too when I was covering the Arena Football League a couple weeks ago with Chris Davis and Todd Mintz, who you saw on our show last week on Saturday from Honda Center, was either when you have injuries or you don't have all your pieces in place or you constantly shuffle your roster, you can't form team chemistry. I've known this, folks, my entire, athletic career before I stopped playing in 2012. Even now, folks, I still know that team chemistry is the one ingredient every team needs. And, of course, with the Sparks not having Parker and Tolliver for the first 8 games, Nneka Ogwumike not playing because of her sprained ankle, and not having those players in there, that there has been no team chemistry all season. I think, though, that now once Parker, even when Elena Beard came back, folks, they look at the chemistry was getting there. But still, though, this is a team still trying to find that proper ratio, to get that element from the periodic table and put that into play. And, the formula has not worked. And at this point in time, with 9 games left, still holding on by dental floss or by the skin of their teeth to a playoff berth, we won't see any team chemistry, I believe, anytime soon. The Sparks, again, folks, lose tonight by 11 after blowing a 14-point lead. Actually, lose by 9, I should say. Again, I'm not a math whiz over here. 79-68 in favor of the Fever this evening. And we can greatly, and folks, we can certainly take your comments here on this ball game on Twitter at CallumMac3 at LA Sparks 365. Obviously, a game that is by far very frustrating for a lot of the fans that were at the game and the people that watched at home. Just seeing again, folks, seeing the Sparks again, just sadly, I'm not sure what to make of it, folks, but again, just seeing them, completely like they're lost dogs out there. I mean, I believe it's about all the adjectives or nouns and verbs I can use, folks, to describe what we have seen from this team in the second half specifically. Not necessarily, folks, the first half. I mean, they've had first halves that have been awful to watch. They've had first halves that have been good to watch, but it's always about the second 20 minutes of play, folks. I mean, it's almost like, you can give the Sparks right now, you can pretty much give LA a 10-point head start to begin the game, and they'll still find a way to somehow, sadly, choke it away in the second half. Again, I know I've been making some pretty bold statements, folks, but, as a former athlete that's been through this, when he was playing baseball, whatever, folks, I still have that will to compete. And I know, what this team is going through, folks, because when you only can rely so heavily and depend so much on a certain player or a certain group of players to continue to carry the load, folks, that is what sometimes destroys ball clubs, is always relying on the same players to continue to carry the load nonstop for an entire game. But I think, though, folks, all we can say here is we'll take a deep breath. We'll just let this, we'll shut this off, and we'll be ready to come back out on Friday. But again, folks, to recap once more, but again, Fever 79, Sparks 68. One other game in the WNBA a bit earlier this afternoon down in Tulsa, Arizona, Tulsa, Arizona. VA moment, folks. Hang on a second. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, not Tulsa, Arizona. I'm a bit loopy tonight, folks. Sorry. But at the other game tonight in the WNBA, the Tulsa Shock tonight defeat the Phoenix Mercury at the BOK Center in Tulsa, 74-59. Final line score for Phoenix in the ballgame. Very rough night for the Mercury. Again, 14 in the first, 11 in the second, 19 in the third, and 15 in the fourth for the game total of 59 for Tulsa, who gets to widen their grip a bit on third place in the Western Conference standings. 19 in the first, 16 in the second, 12 in the third, and 27 in the fourth for the game total of 74. One quick tweet from one of our off-the-bench subs, Crystal Thomas at Pup 1010. She tweets about the game tonight, seeing them climb up the hill to slowly losing footing. They have to learn how to keep a lead and play with consistency. And I think that's also, Crystal, what we would say, though, too, about the team, and I would agree, that, you have to play with consistency. You can't play, a great game on Sunday, take that day off to rest and then come out and play, good for 20 minutes and then, just say, I'm just going to, be lazy and not play like I'm supposed to. But, they have to play, you have to play consistently, I should say, and also know how to play with the lead. So, again, some thoughts here from our KT from tonight's game. Back to the Mercury and Shock game, folks. For the Mercury, their box score tonight. Candace Dupree tonight, 18 points. DeWanna Bonner, 13. Brittany Griner. A lot of personal stuff with her going on, 9 points. Misty Bass, 6. Monique Curry, 4 points. Leilani Mitchell, 3. Alex Harden also with 3, including, and folks, are only 3 points tonight. A 3-pointer from half court at the final shot clock buzzer in the third quarter. Noel Quinn, 2. Marta Chagre Casademont, 1 point. Kayla Francis, no points. Tiffany Bias and Shamika Christian held out of the ballgame. No points. Coach's decision. For the Tulsa Shock, who have been trying to refine their identity, folks, Raquana Williams, 18 points. Karima Christmas, 15, along with Odyssey Sims, Courtney Paris, 11, Amanda Zowie B, 4. Tiffany Jackson-Jones also with 4 points. Jordan Hooper, 3. Vicky Bogg and Brianna Kiesel with 2 points. Pleenette Pearson and Teresa Plancianos all held out because of coach decision. Pearson, by the way, injured in New York, banged her knee on last Saturday at MSG. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Phoenix Mercury. 2 games you don't see in them. Probably a stretch, folks, where you don't see the Mercury do this, where they lose back-to-back games. And obviously there has been something that has not been doing this for Phoenix in the past couple games. Wiped clean at home by Indiana at home, where they rarely lose. I even told my dad, folks, on Sunday after we were watching the Little League World Series on Sunday. My dad was asking about who was the better team. I said, well, Phoenix is the defending champs. And then watching and just seeing Indiana go out there and basically run away from Phoenix in that ball game. That game pretty much. I thought that this game with Tulsa for Phoenix was going to be their bounce back game. But little did I know they would get their doors blown off by the Shock in Tulsa. And again, folks, I know that with Phoenix right now, folks, I don't really know if there is a missing ingredient or whatever it is. But right now, I just think that right now it's just one of those stretches, one of those little slumps. That's all I can really say is it's a slump that they're kind of in right now. Okay, obviously they've not been playing their best basketball the past couple games. I know that there are some personal obligations and personal stuff with Brittany Griner, folks, happening off the floor. And, of course, we won't get into that until probably tomorrow or a couple days down the road, folks, of course, with her and Gloria Johnson still duking it out in court right now with their marriage and divorce problems right now. But I know that we all deal with personal demons, folks. But frankly, once that game, once your game starts, you're free from everything. And I think that with Brittany Griner, having a lot, having all that on her right now, and considering, folks, that, without Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor not playing, folks, that Griner has all the pressure on her now because of what she brings to the table every day with her dunks, her great, her mid-range game, her jumpers, and her, tenacious, incredibly awesome defense, is that I think, though, that she may have probably crumpled under the pressure a bit. Not saying she has, but perhaps a bit that she's probably crumpled under the pressure of being that future face of the franchise. Now that Diana Taurasi is sitting out this season along with Penny Taylor. Well, she has had support from Candice Dupree and Dewana Bonner, folks, but I think that right now, even though that Phoenix is still down, folks, remember a gentleman by the name of Ric Flair who said this very famous quote, "To be the man, you got to beat the man." You remember that famous quote, folks? Until someone beats Phoenix in the postseason, you shouldn't even, no one should worry about the Mercury right now in the regular season because, once the playoffs starts, we all say it's a brand new season, new dawn, new day. Regulars go back to 0-0. So, it may look rough for the Mercury right now, folks, but once those playoffs hit, this team could probably well go back to winning back-to-back WNBA titles for the first time since we had it in 01 and 02. Now, folks, with the Tulsa Shock. Obviously, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot going on with the Shock. Of course, a very lengthy 10-game skid that came to an end on Saturday in New York. And, of course, with the franchise in limbo of going to Dallas. Tonight's 10, folks, by the way, 4,000 plus only at the BOK Center. To be exact, folks, 4,566, the total attendance tonight at the BOK Center. And obviously, folks, a lot going on, a lot of empty seats, of course, perhaps, folks, some possible, resentment, from the fan base in Tulsa about the treatment of the treatment of their franchise going to Dallas next year. But still, folks, though, grinding through all of what they've, had to endure, an injury to Skylar Diggins, who had them playing incredibly, playing extraordinary basketball, a great 10-2, 10-1 start. Then bang, she goes down with the injury. They lose 10 straight games. And now it seems like they're slowly picking the pieces back up in Tulsa, trying to find someone other than Diggins to be that player, of course, between Raquana Williams tonight and Odyssey Sims and Cream of Christmas, folks. But I think, though, that, of course, with basketball being a team game and me playing team sports for many years, folks, I never knew that one player going down with injury, grades, whatever it may be, folks, that one player going down would bring an entire team down with them. And seeing the impact, I mean, folks, you saw pretty well. You don't have to be, you don't have to have 20/20 vision, to see the impact negatively that Diggins' losses had on Tulsa. Just bringing them down, folks. 10 straight losses. Probably one of their longer losing streaks in quite some time with that franchise in Tulsa. So obviously, slowly getting the pieces back together. But you know what? At the end of the day, though, folks, they are still in the playoff mix at third place. We'll get to this playoff standings here momentarily. Meanwhile, folks, 2 games on the WNBA docket tomorrow. At both games are at 5 o'clock Pacific and 8 o'clock Eastern on WNBA Live Access, and one game tomorrow as well will be shown on NBA TV. Tomorrow's games will be the Mystics at the Lynx at 5 o'clock, and then also the New York Liberty will take on the San Antonio Stars at 5 o'clock on NBA TV from the Freeman Coliseum down there in San Antonio, Texas. So again, folks, oh my goodness. Again, ladies and gentlemen, a very rough night. But again, to recap, Sparks tonight blow a 14-point halftime lead. They succumb to the Indiana Fever 79-68 from the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles, California. Updated standings. With the Fever's victory over Los Angeles, the Fever have now hopscotched over both Chicago and Washington for sole possession of second place in the Eastern Conference. New York still leads by a game and a half at 16-7. The Fever now 15-9, 1.5 behind first place. And again, in sole possession now, second place, and on a 4-game win streak. Back out west, the Sparks with the loss still maintain fourth place despite the loss at 8-17 now, and now 6-8 at home and 2-9. Ouch, 2-9 on the road, and on a 1-game skid, but 6-10 against the Western Conference so far this season. And they are right now at this point as well 2-7 in pretty much in worse shape against the Eastern Conference. The Sparks 3-game forecast coming up. Well, it's a road trip forecast, folks. A 4-game, 8-day trip for the Sparks on the horizon. Coming up on Friday, the Sparks will take on the longtime rivals, the defending WNBA champs. They'll be taking on the Phoenix Mercury on Friday night at 7 o'clock on both NBA TV, Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, and Time Warner Cable Deportes. The next game on the schedule, August 23rd, Sparks at San Antonio, 1:30 p.m. No television for that ball game. The game can be seen on WNBA Live Access. August 26th, Sparks at Indiana on NBA TV at 4 o'clock. And then on Friday the 28th, folks, will be Sparks in Tulsa from the BOK Center, 5 o'clock p.m. on NBA TV, TWCSN, and TWCD. And by the way, folks, August 27th, will be our final day of coverage before I do head out for New York on the 28th, and again, we'll be missing the remainder of we'll be missing the games on the 28th, 30th, on the 28th and the 30th, the 3rd and 6th. We'll be missing those games here on the network. When we do return, though, folks, we'll be back, though, to wrap up the regular season when the Sparks head off to Atlanta and Phoenix on September 9th and September 11th. Again, folks, Crystal Thomas, again, folks, tweeted into the program about 10 minutes ago. She said, seeing them climb up the hill to slowly losing footing, they have to learn how to keep a lead and play with consistency. Folks, I think, though, that's another thing that has doomed the Sparks in a lot of the games that we've seen them falter, specifically falter off the cliff, like you're playing cliffhangers and The Price is Right. You've seen them falter off that mountain in the second half of pretty much every game so far, but those 8 games you saw them win. Other than perhaps when they had KT bust out the 43-point game against the Shock back in July, a couple comebacks in the second half, folks. But I think, though, that pre-Parker coming back, and even tonight's game, and even last week, folks, against Seattle, is you just saw the Sparks overguess the price of an item, and you saw Hans, the legendary cliffhanger from The Price is Right, falter off the mountain because the Sparks went $25 over the price of the retail price of the item that they bid on, and Hans goes right over the cliff and falls to his death, Sally. Where it's been that way for the Sparks in the entire second half of a lot of the games you've seen them lose, pre and post Parker coming back, folks. Can it be fixed? It can be fixed, folks. How can it be fixed, though? It's going to have to, folks, rely on the big three. When Parker, Lav, and Agumake, start, playing a bit better than they have in the past, and let Parker Parker played great. Lav played in a great game, too. She was a bit slow starting off, but, of course, though, rolled her ankle late in the ball game. But, folks, can it get better? Hey, you hope and pray for the best, folks. You go to sleep tonight at 11:30, or in my case at 3 a.m. You fall asleep, you wake up tomorrow morning, you go shower, you forget about tonight's game. It's a whole new day. And again, the Sparks will have some time off, folks. And again, Sparks and Mercury on Friday, 7 p.m. Longtime Western Conference rivals will duel in the desert on Friday at 7 o'clock on both NBA TV and, of course, on Time Warner Cable Sportsnet, and also on Time Warner Cable Deportes. Recapping the games tomorrow in the WNBA, only 2 games tomorrow, but again, tomorrow, Washington at Minnesota at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, and, of course, the Liberty at Stars at 5 o'clock as well. There'll be no games on Thursday, off day on Thursday for the entire league, and then on Friday, full slate of games on Friday in the league. You'll have Atlanta and New York at 4:30, Connecticut at Tulsa, 5 o'clock, Minnesota, San Antonio at 5, and also on Friday as well, Washington at Chicago, 5:30, and, of course, L.A. and Phoenix. Round 3 of the season, 7 o'clock p.m., NBA TV, TWCSN, TWCD from the U.S. Airways Center in Phoenix, Arizona. With that, folks, on Tuesday night, August 18th, 2015, as we get ready to begin the countdown to the postseason, the LA Sparks, folks, blow a 14-point lead after halftime. They succumb to the Indiana Fever tonight, 79-68, in front of a crowd of 5,188 from the Staples Center downtown LA by the final score of 79-68. One more tweet from Chris Thomas. She tweets, not only the big three, but the role players got to two-step their way up as well. You know what, folks? Like I said, and I said this too earlier, folks. I mean, Mark, you can go back and watch this, folks, again, and you can watch it again and make a gif of me saying this. Other players, though, have to step up, though, too, as well in the situation, folks. Like I said, though, you cannot rely so heavily on a player or a group of players to carry the load every night. I mean, I was the player, folks, that when I played baseball, up until I was in high school and I graduated, I was the guy that people, put a lot of pressure on, in big situations to make a key play, make a nice pitch, or get a big hit in a big situation, folks. That's what you cannot do, though. You need to have other players other than Parker, Lav, and NECA carry the mail. You do have other folks, there's too much talent on this roster to always rely on the big three to do the job every night. As long as they forward, folks, there's plenty more talent, folks, than just Ace, NECA, and Lav. But with that, folks, as soon as we get done with the show here again, go to sleep, showered off. We have a new day tomorrow. We'll have some more coverage with you folks tomorrow and Thursday back here on LAS 365. But with that, folks, until tomorrow night, have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thing overcoming. Thanks for tuning in and watching. And good night now. This has been the LA Sparks 365 Network. We are Sparks. We are LA. We are the WNBA. But folks, tonight, final score, Indiana 79, Los Angeles 68. For Cal McClurg from Studio 1 San Diego, signing off, folks, and see you mañana. Bye-bye.